Now that you understand the basics of movement in Blender, we can actually get into the tools of Blender. And what I want to focus on is shortcuts or hotkeys. But first, I want to give you an anecdote. When I was on a Little League baseball team, our coach didn't give us baseballs for the first 2 weeks. This is because he wanted to develop our form and how we threw the ball or how we caught the ball. This is to prevent building dependencies on bad habits. So I'm taking a similar approach to this video series. Now, the most valuable tool you can master is learning shortcuts. I want to show you a video that was sent in my Discord server to illustrate why shortcuts are such an important part of the 3D modeling process. Now, watching that infuriated me. So I recorded this video just to make a point. My video is 4 seconds long, it does exactly what he did in his video, and he uses shortcuts and hotkeys. Take a look. Not only was my model 10 times better than what he produced, it took me 10% of the time to do it. Now, what I will teach you will allow you to go from this to this. So let's look at some basic shortcuts. If we press A, it will select every single thing in our scene, and we can delete or we can move by pressing G. If you want to cancel this movement, you can click right click. If you want to confirm it, then you press left click. If you want to add something into your scene, you can do Shift A. When you click on your mesh and you want to go into edit mode, which is actually how you make changes to your mesh, you click on the object and you press tab. Now, 3D objects consist of 3 things: faces, edges, and vertices. Right now, we are in vertice selection mode, meaning that we will only select the vertices. We can't select edges or we can't select faces. You can either click these buttons up top here to change from face to edge to vertice mode, or you can use 1, 2, 3. 1 for vertices, 2 for edges, and 3 for faces. Obviously, I believe that shortcuts are incredibly important, and I insist that you use these shortcuts instead of pressing the buttons on a screen. On the left, we have basically our toolbox of what we can actually do to our mesh. You can open and close this using T, or you can press this little arrow, expand it, and collapse it. I will always use T. I will open it up so you can see the names of the tools. First, we have our selection tool. If we go out of edit mode, we can see that my current selection mode is a box. If I press W, now my selection will become a circle. So anything I hover over in this circle will be selected. If I press W again, I will now be in a lasso selection mode, meaning I can freeform my selection. If I press W again, I am now in a mode where I can move objects just with my mouse. I actually don't use this, I always use G. If I press W again, I will return to box selection mode, which is what I recommend everybody use unless you need the other tools for select scenarios. Next, we have our 3D cursor, which I'll go more into later. Following that, we have our basic movement tools. We have move, we also have rotate, scale, and transform, which is a combination of all 3. If I go back to my selection box, I can actually use all these tools without ever pressing anything on this menu. If I want to move it on an axis, I can press G and then press X for the X axis, Y for the Y axis, and Z for the Z axis. And I can right click to cancel. If I want to rotate it, I can rotate freely or on the Z, X, or Y axis. If I want to scale, I can also do that by just pressing S. I can also scale on the X axis, and the Y axis. If I go back into edit mode, you can see that we have a lot more tools that appear. For the sake of simplicity, I will not click on these buttons to show you that all of this is easily accessed with simple shortcuts. Going back to my selection box, I can now click on a face and press E. This will extrude it upwards. Next is inset. If I select a face and press I, it'll inset the face. Next is bevel. If I select an edge by pressing 2, I can press Ctrl and B to bevel. I can also scroll up and down to choose how much detail I want in the bevel. Then I can use loop cut, which I can do by holding Ctrl and pressing R, and I can scroll up and down to choose how many loop cuts I want on my mesh. Next is the knife tool. If I press K, then I will have this knife tool, which I can click anywhere on my mesh to recreate geometry, and I press enter to confirm it. These are the basic tools that you use for 95% of all your modeling needs: extrusions, insets, bevels, loop cuts, and the knife tool. These are all for rare use case scenarios. One that I use very often is edge slide. If I go and select this edge, go back to my selection tool, press G to move it, and then press G again, it will now move along my geometry. Obviously, if you move something and you want to undo it, use Control Z. If you want to redo it, use Control Shift Z. But there is a limited amount of moves that you can go back or into the future with. A tool that I really don't use is ripping. If you press V, you can actually separate the vertices into two and drag them away. So if I wanted to separate it using V and then double tap G, I can move that along the geometry, and now I have this hole. If I right click my model, I can see that there's shade smooth, shade auto smooth, and shade flat. If I auto smooth, the entire mesh will be smoothed. If I shade auto smooth, then it will try and match where the sharp edges should be. This is a very important menu. Set origin. Origin is this little orange dot at the center of my mesh. If I go into edit mode, I press A, press G, and let's say I press X to move it away. This origin is still here, but the model is now over there. If I select over the origin point, it will select the mesh. If I want to set the origin back to the geometry, I will click Set Origin, Origin to Geometry. That will return the origin to the center of the geometry. That is the fastest, most concise way I can show you all of the modeling tools in one video.